Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor, Mr. Ronald Smith Berkeley. Ms. Najan Christopher, OECS Focal Point and Commissioner. Heads of Department, visiting delegates from Anguilla and Montserrat and the OECS. Other delegates, members of the National Climate Change Committee, good morning. We'll proceed with remarks by the OECS Commissioner, Ms. Najan Christopher. Ms. Christopher.
Good morning, everyone. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor, Mr. Ronald Smith Berkeley. Mr. Chamberlain Emmanuel, Project Technical Team Leader for the Global Climate Change Alliance. All heads of department, visiting delegates from Anguilla, Montserrat, and representatives of the OECS. Good morning, everyone. As you are all well aware, the BVI has a long history of collaboration with member states of the Eastern Caribbean. As small island developing states, we are often faced with similar challenges. Due to similarities in our geography, topography, social and historical experiences, we are in fact seeking to address some of the same issues as individual member states. But as a member of the OECS, the BVI has benefited significantly from the relationship that we have as an associate member. Through the sharing of information and best practices, and by learning from the experiences of our neighbors, we have been able to develop and make the best use of our limited resources. Since joining the organization in 1981, we have collaborated regionally on various projects and initiatives over the years. Today, we are indeed grateful for another opportunity to partner with the OECS, today with the support of the European Union, to ensure the sustainable development of this territory in implementing adaptation measures to climate change and sustainable land management practices. The global phenomenon that is climate change does not respect country or territorial borders. It indiscriminately affects every corner of the globe, regardless of a country's contribution to the problem or its greenhouse gas emissions. Climate change is a global problem, which can only be addressed through collaboration and working together with other countries. It is for this reason that opportunities such as this are so important. The Global Climate Change Alliance was launched in 2007 by the European Commission to strengthen the dialogue and cooperation between the European Union and developing countries, those most vulnerable to climate change. It is well understood that climate change will adversely affect small island developing states, such as the BVI. In this regard, territories like the BVI must take immediate measures to adapt to climate change. The Global Climate Change Alliance will act as a platform for dialogue and exchange of experience between the EU and developing countries on climate policy and the practical approaches to integrate climate change into development policies and budgets. It will also serve as a technical and financial support partner to countries to integrate climate change into their development policies and budgets. With the implementation of projects, they will address climate change on the promoting climate-resilient, low-emission promoting climate resilience and low-emission development. I encourage the ministry to seize this opportunity and to, sorry, I missed that part. This is a great opportunity as this support will enable the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor to accelerate the work they have already been doing to adapt our territory to this issue. As the country continues to develop and we continue to face unusual weather patterns, which lead to landslides, soil erosion, and undermining of roads, even collapsing of retaining walls, etc., we look forward to using this project to strengthen the infrastructure of the territory in harmony with nature. I encourage the ministry to seize this opportunity and to make the most use of it over the next 5 years in the life of the project. On behalf of the Premier's Office as the coordinating ministry, I want to thank the members of the National Committee for the service they will render and for their dedication to the project. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Christopher. We'll now proceed with a brief project overview by Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Permanent Secretary Ronald Smith Berkeley, Deputy Permanent Secretary Mr. Smith Abbott, OECS Commissioner and Focal Point Ms. Najan Christopher, Senior Public Officers, representatives from Anguilla and Montserrat, OECS colleagues, and other guests. Thank you for allowing the OECS to be in this beautiful country today. It's actually my first time to Tortola, and it reminds me a lot of home. So indeed, we share a lot of things in common. The OECS Commission, in keeping with its mandate, has developed a growth and development strategy which articulates a focus on sustainable development and environmental management through oceans governance, sustainable energy, disaster risk management, biodiversity and protected areas management, and climate change response. To this end, the Social and Sustainable Development Division has projected a broad strategic portfolio of interventions based on 3 pillars: adaptation, mitigation, and cross-cutting mechanisms. Land management is a recurring and cross-cutting national level constraint to sustainable development among all OECS member states. This is a complicated matter involving multiple agencies, regulations, policies, and land tenure issues. With a predicted trend towards increasing climatic events and associated costs to either building resilience or post-disaster recovery, or both, states will need to position themselves to respond more adequately to these challenges. The OECS Commission, therefore, is pleased to partner with the European Commission through the mechanism of the Global Climate Change Alliance, GCCA, to support this €10.6 million project, which intends to improve the region's natural resource-based resilience to the impacts of climate change, particularly with respect to our land resource, over the next 5 years of implementation. This is designed to be achieved through 2 main components. The first, effective and sustainable land management frameworks and practices. This would include establishing or reinforcing the enabling environment or land management systems by providing appropriate climate change-oriented legal and institutional frameworks. Also, upgrading the technical and human capacity necessary to support decision-making process in delivering sustainable land management policies and strategies. And thirdly, under this component, using a participatory approach to highlight the risks, threats, and opportunities arising from climate change with a view to building a durable and constructive partnership between relative stakeholders. The second main component is specific physical adaptation pilots, which entail investment, interventions, and demonstration of approaches in relevant areas and sectors to protect threatened lands and coastlines and to restore degraded lands. The expected benefits include lower the risk of loss of life and property from the impacts of hazards and disasters, greater food security and improved soil and water conservation, greater public understanding of climate change and land degradation issues, and support for land management practices, strengthen legal, institutional, and policy frameworks to support sustainable land management, and actual implementation of specific physical adaptation interventions, including based on your priorities, slope stabilization, drainage improvement, river and sea defense, soil stabilization works, reforestation or agroforestry interventions, rainwater harvesting, eco-engineering, and the list goes on based on your situation. During this current program estimator first phase, which ends June 2015, the main task is to conduct a needs analysis to ultimately provide a detailed map of activities for each OECS member state, while at the same time pursuing specific quick wins or low-hanging fruit in the areas of legal and regulatory framework, human and technical capacity, and public awareness. The level of benefit and success for each member state will be directly contingent upon demonstrated readiness and responsiveness through its national committee, particularly cognizant of the project's strict timelines. The national committee comprises agencies with strategic interests and mandates in SLM and climate change adaptation and acts as the focal point for implementation and facilitation of project activities, including identifying opportunities and priorities, issuing feedback, recommendations, and assisting with monitoring of implementation and with project visibility. Finally, special provision is made during this program estimate to extend opportunities and benefits of climate change and sustainable land management public awareness initiatives to the non-independent member states of the BVI, Montserrat, and Anguilla, which are otherwise restricted from those benefits due to financing constraints of other partners. However, under this European Union finance project, we can extend those previous activities to your member states. Hence, today's activity in the BVI also includes participants from Anguilla and Montserrat to advance an action plan for this particular activity. The OECS Commission extends thanks to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor through PS Smith Berkeley and DPS Smith Abbott for facilitating and assisting with the establishment of the National Committee and hosting of today's launch and meetings. We look forward to working with your committee to maximize benefits from this initiative for the government and people of the British Virgin Islands. Thank you.
We'll now proceed with the introduction of the National Committee members. So I'll start with the Premier's office, who is represented by Ms. Najan Christopher, who is now represented by Ms. Najan Christopher, but who will be later represented by Ms. Elvia Smith-Maduro. I would like to point out that the Virgin Islands, within the Virgin Islands, we have a National Climate Change Committee. So what we decided to do was to use that committee, to serve as a national committee for this project. So the persons that I will be introducing to you this morning are actually those persons who serve on the National Climate Change Committee. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor, which is represented by myself, Mrs. Tessa Smith-Claxton, as well as Ms. Abby Christopher and Ms. Heather James. The Department of Disaster Management, we have Mr. Christopher Williams, who is seated over here. The Town and Country Planning Department is represented here today by Mr. Gregory Adams. Is there anyone here from Environmental Health? No. Or the BVI Electricity Cooperation? The Ministry of Communications and Works? The Conservation and Fisheries Department, we have the Chief Conservation and Fisheries Officer, Mr. Kelvin Penn. From the Public Works Department, we have Mr. Jose Di Castro. From the Department of Agriculture, we are represented here today. Also from the BVI Tourist Board, we're represented by Ms. Victorine Cricky. From the National Parks Trust, we are represented by the Deputy Director, Ms. Linda Valak. Is there anyone here from the Development Planning Unit or the Water and Sewage Department? No. Okay. Well, those are the persons who will serve on the national committee for this project.
Good morning to everyone. I acknowledge the established protocol. Like most small island developing states, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States member face challenges related to climate change. However, the Global Climate Change Alliance noted that prevailing land tenure system, fragile soil type, physiographic and climate variation, and limited land area available for development create intense competition between the land use option, which include settlement, agriculture, tourism, and other infrastructure. These challenges are compounded by the projected impact of global climate change, which are expected to exacerbate flood, storm surges, erosion, and the reduction of available fresh water. In the context of the OECS project on reducing risk to human and natural assets resulting from climate change, was implemented to address the issue of sustainable land management on the basis of a comprehensive and integrated regional approach by supporting the OECS Secretariat, which will play the leading role on the environmental protection, including aspects related to climate change. The OECS RAC, as it's called, project has already been rolled out in the 6 independent countries. And today we mark another phase of this extensive project as we host the public awareness planning phase. It is indeed an honor for the Virgin Islands to welcome our delegates from Montserrat and Anguilla here to the Virgin Islands for this reason. But make no mistake, the Virgin Islands did not, but make no mistake, this does not mean that the Virgin Islands is behind on climate change awareness activities, as recent events prove otherwise. Rather, it must be noted that we have forged ahead on this OECS RAC project in other opportunities to strengthen our outreach to the Greater Virgin Islands. Earlier this month, our Deputy Premier, representing the Premier, who currently serves as Chairman of the Overseas Countries and Territory, delivered an address on the Mapping and Assessment of Ecosystem Services Conference in Brussels on the occasion of the International Day on Biological Diversity. This year's celebration was dedicated to the island biodiversity, which aligns with the United Nations Declaration of 2014 as the Year of Small Island Developing States in preparation for the SIDS conference in Samoa later this year. One of the highlights of the address that was made at that time was the value of nature to our economy, which place a value of $194 million on the environment of the Virgin Islands. As SIDS, we are on the front line on the front lines to feel adverse effects of climate change, and we must lead the way in the climate adaptation. This importance is further highlighted when we consider that over 80% of the biodiversity in the UK is found within the borders of her overseas countries and territories. This demonstrates the critical importance of partnership in the preservation of the world's biodiversity. I therefore commend the good people of the OECS for their role in deepening the regional collaboration and effort to adapt to climate change through the Project of Climate Change Adaptation and Sustainable Land Management for the Eastern Caribbean. In October of this year, we are scheduled to have an international conference on biological diversity and climate change in the EU outermost region of Guadeloupe. This conference is organized by the European Commission and the Virgin Islands as OCTA chair in collaboration with Guadeloupe. Under OCTA, one of the means of focus identified for the term was to create a framework for engaging in EU to support OTC project in light of the climate change and its environmental and human effects. The forum, which provide an avenue to address shared challenges such as blue and green growth, including renewable energy, protection of the environment, climate change mitigation and adaptation, water and water waste management, invasive alien species. We are looking to Guadeloupe Conference in October to support strategic partnership to address significant biodiversity issues. We are also seeking to work with the African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries to attain this same level of synergy to mount a full frontal assault on our biodiversity challenges. Within the Virgin Islands, the concept of climate change adaptation is being mainstreamed and readily incorporated into updated policies and strategies. The hardworking staff of the Department of Disaster Management, after ensuring that we are tsunami ready, also produce comprehensive disaster management strategy program framework which takes climate change into account. Indeed, much has been done to highlight the risks and threats of climate change, Indeed, much has been done to highlight the risk and threats of climate change, as well as to outline means to address and adapt. But most recently, we have also been highlighting opportunities that may arise as a result of climate change. As we carry out adaptation strategies outlined in the Virgin Islands climate change policy, we have the opportunity to further safeguard our natural environment. With these adaptations come benefits such as increased resilience and to our reefs, which are beneficial to our climate and disaster resilience, and also the great importance to our tourism, economy, and everyday well-being of the local population. It is important to underline that the climatic and environmental changes also provide possibilities, accessibility to new resources and possibilities of new economic activities. These must be coupled with updated training, new management strategies, and possibilities for updated technology. Let us therefore support many OTCs, are already sustainably diversifying their economies by seizing the possibilities. Let us therefore support such a sustainable development in order to support inhabitants and the environment in parallel. One mechanism that seeks to support opportunities locally is the intended Climate Change Trust Fund. While mobilizing much needed fund to address climate change mitigation and adaptation, the fund also funds possibilities. The opportunity to support the conversion of local businesses to more climate resilient, energy efficient establishment, support the development and use of greener technology and infrastructure, or perhaps making the territory the first carbon neutral destination in the region. I wish the delegates a successful event that from those of you from the BVI and those of you from Anguilla and Montserrat, a successful event and can continue to be made aware of ways to reduce the risks of climate change to human and natural assets, as well as the opportunities that may arise through the continued efforts of adaptation. May we never forget that what we value, we must also protect. And I thank you.
On behalf of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor and the government of the Virgin Islands, we would like to extend thanks, particularly to the OECS for initiating this project in the Caribbean. We'd also like to thank those persons that are here today from the National Committee that will be serving on the National Committee. We thank you for your participation, for turning out today on this Monday morning. And we would also like to thank our GIS team for coming and filming what is going on. Ms. Najan Christopher, thank you for coming and making those remarks. And I thank you all for being here and look forward to a productive day. Thank you.
We have just launched the Global Climate Change Alliance here in the territory. What does this mean for Virgin Islanders?
I think this means for the BVI in general that we have it should give us a greater awareness of the issues that related to climate change, as well as provide some means for us to address those issues, not only from the BVI, but from the regional level.
Yes, well, thank you very much.